How's it going? Good to see you, sixth grade. Okay. Do you remember the area of a triangle? The formula is 1/2 times base times height. What about the area of a trapezoid? Do you remember the formula? It's 1/2 times height times base 1 plus base 2, where we have to add base 1 and base 2 first because it's in the parentheses. Then we can do the rest of the multiplication. All right, now that you remember those two formulas for the area of a triangle and the area of a trapezoid, we're going to apply these formulas to figure out the area of a trapezoid and also the area of a triangle. So let's look at this example. And let me just increase my screen size because I'm going to be showing you things on my whiteboard. Okay. All right. So look at this trapezoid. Now, this is a trapezoid. It's labeled A, B, C, D. And the area is given. It says the area of the trapezoid ABCD is 4,196.5 square meters. AD is parallel to BC. So first, before we attempt the question, we have to try to understand the situation the problem presents, okay? So if AD is parallel to BC, okay, those are the bases of the trapezoid, aren't they? So I'm going to just label AD B1 and BC B2. It doesn't matter if this is B2 and this is B1, but I'm just labeling it like that, okay? It's just customary for me to always label the top one B1 and the bottom one B2. And I like to keep my parallel bases of my trapezoid parallel to the ground, okay? Okay, now that I have that, to find the area of a trapezoid, I also need to figure out the height, okay? Where is the height? The height is the distance between the bases of the trapezoid. You can see that here, CE is the distance between the bases because that correlates to here. Okay, if we kind of move this height over beep, 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 over here, you can tell, oh, it is the distance between the bases. And remember, the height has to be not only the distance between the bases, but it has to be perpendicular to the bases, okay, which it is here, okay? All right, so now I'm understanding this special trapezoid A, B, C, D, okay? And I know where the bases are, and I know where the height is, okay? But are we given the height? We're not. So our height is our unknown, okay? But the main point of this problem is not to only find the height, but is to find the area of the triangle that we see in the trapezoid, okay? So they try to make it a little bit more complicated to challenge you. So it says we're going to find the area of triangle ADC. So this is triangle ADC over here. And I'm going to highlight it in yellow, like so, okay? What do you notice about triangle ADC? Well, I notice that it shares the same base of the trapezoid here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, because then I know this as a base and it gives me the value for the base, and this can be the base of a triangle as well, because remember, a base of a triangle is one of its side, and since we know this side length, I'm going to keep this as my base of my triangle. And to know my base, I also have to figure out my height, okay? So remember, for triangles, I would recommend keeping the base on the ground, okay? Just to help you understand, this better, okay? That's what I would suggest you starting off with. And once you get used to it, I guess if you can just visualize the base, in other places you can. But I like to kind of maneuver my triangle so the base is on the floor, okay? So it should look something like this when I turn my shape around, okay? So I kept my trapezoid here, okay? And here is my triangle ACD, or triangle ADC, and my base here is on the floor, okay? So here, remember how to determine the height of a triangle? Well, we have to find from the ground a perpendicular line that goes through the highest point of the triangle now, okay? So which is C, right? Point C here. So this is the height of the triangle, and it goes straight down to the ground, okay? So the height of the triangle is the same as the height of the trapezoid, isn't it? Okay? All right. So let's see now if we can figure this problem out, okay? So we know B1, and we know B2, and we don't know H, but I know the area of my trapezoid. So I'm going to input in those values here, okay? So the area of my trapezoid, the formula is 1/2 times height times base 1 plus base 2, okay? And then that'll become, I know my area of my trapezoid because it's given, and then I'm going to input in my base 1, base 2. Then I'm going to solve my addition sentence inside my parentheses, and it becomes 154. 56 plus 98 becomes 154. Then my goal is to take half of 154. Okay, so I'm going to do half of 154, and I'm going to multiply it by h. I just switched the positions around here from this to this. Okay, all right. And I still know my area as this. Okay, and that'll become this. Okay, 77h is half of 154h. Okay, so now I have a number being multiplied to an unknown variable h, and then I have a total on the other side of the equal sign. How do I get the unknown by itself? I want to undo this multiplication by 77, so I'm going to divide by 77 on both sides, okay? So if I divide 77 on both sides, okay, and here I didn't write 77, so let me just write it in here, okay? Okay. H will become this, okay? 54.5 meters. And it's not approximately, it's actually exactly, okay? And if you want to see how I divided 4,196.5 by 77, you can take a look over here, and you can pause the video to examine it to see if you understand how to do it. Okay? If not, just keep the video going. All right, so now I figured out H. Okay, my height was 54.5 meters. But am I done with the question? No, not yet. Almost not yet, because my question asked, find the area of the triangle ADC. okay? So if I want to find the area of the triangle ADC, I know my height as 54.5 and my base of my triangle here is 56, okay? So that's what I know. So that I can easily compute my area of my triangle, okay? So the area of my triangle is 1/2 times its base, in this case base is labeled as B1, times the height. And I know those values. So I'm going to plug it in. Okay. And that becomes 1/2 times 56 times 56.5. And half of 56 is 28. So that becomes 28 times 54.5. And if you're curious to see how I did it by hand, 28 times 54.5, please take a look over here. You can pause the video, okay, to see if you understand how I got it. Okay, and the area of this triangle ADC is 1,526 square meters because we're talking about area. All right, now we're just going to do one guided practice together, but it's a doozy, okay? There's a lot of steps like we just did in the example. So why don't you pause the video on a piece of paper, try it on your own, and then play the video again to see if what you got is what I got. Okay? All right, see you soon. Alrighty, welcome back. So before we begin, what I want to do is I want to take some time to understand what I'm seeing. I want to understand my trapezoid. Okay, so let's just talk about it together. Now it says the area of trapezoid ABCD is 1,248 square centimeters. So they're giving us the area. Okay, now it looks like AD and BC are parallel. Do you know how I know they're parallel? Because you see how within AD they have this here that looks like kind of like an arrowhead, and then here on BC it looks like a similar arrowhead. So that means this line is parallel to that line, or this side is parallel to that side. Okay, that's what it means. Okay, do you see those arrowheads here or here? No, so that means this side is not parallel to that side. Okay, all right. So our main goal, so I know my parallel sides, which means that AD is a base and BC is a base, okay, of my trapezoid, okay? Now, if I know the bases, then that means there has to be a height. Can you find the height in this shape? There it is, that's the height. The height is the distance between the bases of my trapezoid, where the height is parallel to, not parallel, the height is perpendicular to my bases, okay? But the height is not given, so that is something we have to determine, okay? All right, but that's not the whole problem, okay? The whole problem is, here, if you look at this bold, complete to find the area of triangle ABD. Of triangle ABD. So I'm going to highlight my triangle ABD in yellow, just like I did in the example before. There's my triangle ABD. I noticed that in my triangle ABD, this side of my triangle shares the same base as my trapezoid. So I'm going to assign this as my base of my triangle. And because this base here is drawn at the top instead of on the floor, I'm going to manipulate my image so my triangle's base is on the floor. There it is, okay? So now here's my triangle ABD in yellow here, and my base here is on the floor, okay? And remember, this base is the base of my trapezoid, okay? And this is my height of my triangle because I can move this height beep, 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 all the way here, and it's going to go straight down from the highest point of my triangle down straight to the ground. right? And that'll be my height. It's just drawn over here, okay? Okay, now that I understand this image and I manipulated it to um, suit me, I'm ready to solve for h first, okay? So what do I gotta do? Well, I'm gonna use the formula for the area of a trapezoid, okay? And if you recall, okay, that is the area of a trapezoid is 1/2 times height times b1 plus b2. And I'm going to input in my values that I know. So I know my area and I know my b1 and b2, like this. After that, I'm going to simplify. Okay, so it becomes, my area of my trapezoid becomes 1/2 times h times 60. And I'm going to do half of 60 first because, ooh, I like that. That's easy for me to figure out mentally. Okay, right? So half of 60 is 30. Okay, so then I have my area of my trapezoid, 1,248 is equal to 30 times h. So I want to get my unknown variable h by itself. I want to solve for h. So what do I got to do? Well, I got to undo this multiplication of 30. To undo the multiplication of 30, I have to divide by 30, okay? And so this is what it'll look like here on this side, okay? And if you want to know how I divided 1,248 by 30, take a look over here on this side and pause the video to see if this is what you got, okay? All right, and then my height is actually 41.6 centimeters. It kind of got erased a little bit, but let me just write my 41 better. Okay, so 41.6 centimeters is my height. Okay, yay! So now I figured out my height. Okay, so now let's find the area of the triangle. Okay, so I know my base and I know my height. So now I can find the area easily by inputting in the values. Okay, so the area of a triangle is 1/2 times base 1 times height. In this case, I'm labeling it as base 1 because it's the same base as the base in my trapezoid. Okay, and then I'm going to input in those values that I know, and then it'll become like this. Okay, and then half of 22 is very easy to do, okay, which is just 11. So then I have to do 11 times 41.6, and if you want to see how I did it, pause the video and take a look over here to see how I computed 41.6 times 11. Okay, and that'll become 457.6 square centimeters. All right, so how'd you do? I have a feeling you did a lot of those parts correctly. So I'm really proud of you. Bruno Mars gives you 10 out of 10. All right, I'll see you tomorrow live. Bye.